ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। So we were in the Swayam Jyotish Brahmanam, which is the third Brahmana in the fourth chapter. So just to recollect, so here Yajnavalkya again goes to meet Janaka, and then the Shruti actually tells about a varam, a boon which Yajnavalkya had given to Janaka previously, that he can ask any question he likes, he wants to Yajnavalkya, and he will answer that. So Kama Prashnam it is called. So whatever he desires to ask, he can ask. So based on that, Janaka asks him the question, okay, Kim Jyotihi Ayam Purushaha iti. That is the question actually. That's why this Brahmana is called Jyotir Brahmanam. And Yajnavalkya first answers that it is the sun. In the light of the sun alone, all the activities are happening like that. Okay. All the activities in this transactional world are happening in the light of the sun. So, then what if the sun has set? There is no sun means then Chandrama, like that the answer is given, moon. What if there is no moon also? Then Agni, fire is given. What if fire also is put off? Okay. And then Vag, Yajnavalkya says Vak, and Vak means again it's a upalakshan of our other Indriyas also. So based on sound and touch and all that also you can do Vyavahara, correct? So the other Indriyas are set. Then finally the sixth one only we saw, it's a very big Bhashya also we saw already. Even if all these things are not there, what is the Jyotish in which all activities happen? Means the answer he gives finally is Atma eva asya jyotihi. So the Atma alone, the self alone is the Jyoti. So this whole progression, if you see, is only to show that this self is separate from the body mind sense complex. There is a separate self other than the body mind sense complex, and that is self-conscious, self-revealing, self-existent reality. That is the teaching. So the Atma alone is the Jyotish, due to whose self-effulgence, due to the effulgence of this Atma alone, in its presence, everything is happening. That is the teaching here. So here if you see, the Bhashya was again, the arguments were in the Bhashya, if you see the arguments were with the Charvaka. The Charvakas say that body alone is the Atma. There is no separate Atma other than the body. For this there were elaborate arguments and all were there. We saw that. Okay, so one of the things here in this Brahmana itself, what Bhashyakara says is that these all these different Drishtanta, the Jyotis which were talked about, from there only we can do an Anumana based on the Shruti, which is that, see, all the Jyotis which the Shruti talked about were all external to the body mind sense complex, that are different from the body mind sense complex. So in the Jagrad Avastha, you see that sun, moon, fire, all these things are, or even sound, speech, etc. They are all other than the body mind sense complex, and they are the ones which help us in doing whatever Vyavahara, the activities which we are doing. And therefore, based on that, what do we say? In the Jagrat, it is like that. In the Swapna also, there are activities are there, but there is no external light in the Swapna, correct? And when there is no Swapna also, still I am there. I am still shining. So all that, based on that, we make the Anumana that this Atma is Vyatiriktaha. Okay. The Atma Jyotis is something other than the body mind sense complex, even like the sun which is there in the Jagrat, which is other than the body mind sense complex, and which is the Jyoti, correct? So like this, the Anumana is done. So based on that Anumana only, we are saying that there is a separate Atma. So this was established, and a lot of arguments were there. We saw all of them. And now, but still again, you can see here, Yajnavalkya is asking this question. Katamaha Atma iti. So, what is this Atma? He is still asking. Then, here Yajnavalkya is answering that Yoyam Vijnanamayaha Praneshu Hridyantar Jyotihi Purushaha Sa Samanaha San Ubhau Lokau Anusancharati Dhyayati Iva Lelayati Iva Sahi Swapnaha Bhutva Imam Lokam Atikramati Mrityoho Rupani. Like this. This is the answer which our Yajnavalkya is giving. So here, which is this self again is asking. Katamaha Atma means what? When he says, Yoyam Vijnanamayaha Purushaha. So Vijnana Maya, the Mayat Pratyaya normally can also mean modification of, correct? You can say Dadhi is Kshiramaya because it is a modification of milk, correct? Curd is a modification of milk. Mayat can come in Vikarartha. But here, in fact, some people take it like that. Okay, like the Bhartru Prapancha, who is the other Vritikara, he takes it like that. In fact, Bhashyakara will take that in the Bhashya. Later we will see that this Mayat, what is the meaning of Vijnana Maya itself, he spent some time. So the meaning which Bhashyakara takes is Vijnana Maya means Maya, he takes it as Vijnana Prayaha. Like that is the meaning which is taken. Praya means something which is identified with, or which is almost that. Okay. Prayaha means here the Atma is manifesting, this consciousness is manifesting through one's intellect and mind, correct? And therefore, we take it as the mind. Or you can even take like this. Whenever we try to analyze ourselves, we can arrive at this fact that everything becomes evident to me, correct? Everything, all the objects, I am the one who is cognizing all of them. So as the cognizer, as the subject, to me everything becomes evident. Therefore, I am identifying myself with the faculty of knowing, correct? The faculty of knowing, the faculty of cognizing, correct? That is the intellect. I cognize through the intellect, and therefore this Atma is identified with the intellect as the cognizer, you can say. But even that, we have to understand that mind and intellect also are only upadhi. Okay, it is like understanding the fire through a red hot iron. You may identify the fire with the red hot iron, but the iron itself is not having any heat or fire or anything, correct? The fire just manifests there. If you have a red hot iron, it will also burn you. Okay, it looks like it is bright and shining and all that, but really it is just fire manifesting in the iron rod, let us say. Similarly, the consciousness is manifesting in your mind, and the faculty of knowing is what we understand ourselves closely with. Therefore, we identify ourselves as a aware, conscious being, identify ourselves with the action of knowing. But the action of knowing also really is not there in Atma. Atma is really the consciousness which is shining all the time, but you cannot attribute any activity to that. It is like saying in the presence of sun everything is happening, correct? The water evaporates, but does the sun have any kartritvam that I am the evaporator of the water or anything like that? You cannot even impute that on the sun, correct? Or the lotus is blooming. All these things poetically also we can use. But in reality, sun doesn't have any kartritvam, or you cannot impute any action to the sun just because the lotus is blooming or the water is evaporating or the cyclone is forming. All that is happening, correct? Like that, here the Atma is the one which is consciousness, but that consciousness is the what is called in Sanskritam as Nyaptihi. Bhashyakara says, even in the Taittiriya Bhashya, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is there. In that the Jnanam, initially you can say that we take it as Jnana Kriya, correct? The activity of knowing. But even that cannot be there, because if Atma is subjected to Kriya like that, it will become a Vikari. It will lose its nature. So it is, Atma is of the very nature of knowledge or knowingness, we have to say, correct? Its very nature is knowingness, or it is basically it is a consciousness which is shining all the time without any activity. It is not an activity of Atma or anything. It is its very nature. So being its nature, it never comes and goes and all that. It is always the same consciousness. Is that clear? So the nearest analogy we can give is of sun. But even in sun, there is some activity which is happening, which is making it the bright heavenly body it is, correct? But that part is not, we should not include in the analogy. Here, Atma's very Swarupa is of being this consciousness which is lighting up everything, and in its presence everything is happening. That's what we want to show. So the Upanishad here is using the word Vijnana Mayaha. This Vijnana Mayaha we have to understand correctly. In fact, we'll see that later. And that is there amongst all the Indriyas. By saying it is amongst all the Indriyas, again it is shown as something separate from the Indriyas. Praneshu here means prana, here the word prana word is used for all the Indriyas, all the Karanas. And also it is not the intellect. That also the Upanishad itself, how does it show? Hridyantar Jyotihi. Although it is Vijnana Mayaha, but it is there as something separate from the intellect. Because here Hrid, again, Hridaya is used for intellect only. And it is there within the intellect as the shining consciousness, as the light which shines within the intellect. Means again, from this usage also we can know that Atma is the consciousness which is other than the intellect. It is the Purushaha. Puranat Purushaha, you can take it. The limitless being. And sa samanaha san ubhau lokau anusancharati. Okay. So it assuming the likeness of the intellect, basically, as the knower, it goes between the two worlds. Okay, it moves between the two worlds, means waking and dream and all that. And in that, what? Dhyayati iva, it is as though thinking, it is as though shaking. Lelayati iva means it's as though active, correct? Vibrating and knowing and all that, thinking. So these are all only iva. Ivakara is very important. The activities themselves are only as though. Although we identify the Atma with all these activities, all these activities are taking place in the presence of the Atma, you cannot really impute any action to the Atma itself. That's why this Ivakara is very important. and sahi swapna bhutva imam lokam atikramati. Okay, and also it is the one which becomes the dream world. Okay, and then but it transcends also, it atikramati. So it transcends this waking world and becomes this dream world also. And mrityoho rupani here, again this world is equated to mrityoho rupani, means the forms of mrityu. So mrityu is ignorance here. So this is the Atma in whose presence, whether it is waking or dream, everything is happening. Okay, and it is the one which lights up everything. So that is what Yajnavalkya is teaching Janaka here. Now let us see the Bhashya. Yadyapi vyatiriktavadi siddham तथापि समान जातीय अनुग्राहकत्व दर्शन निमित्त भ्रांत्या करणानाम एव अन्यतमः व्यतिरिक्तः वा इति अविवेकतः पृच्छति. Okay, now you can so Bhashyakara is explaining why Janaka is still asking, because already it was said previously, correct? Atma eva jyotihi, like that it was said, but still he is asking katamaha atma, what is this Atma? This Atma was already shown as separate from the body mind sense complex according to the Anumana which Bhashyakara was able to make out from all the answers, but still Janaka is asking here. So Bhashyakara is explaining why he is asking like that still. Why this question is still there, Katamaha Atma, which is this Atma? Because although this Atma was shown as separate, right? He says, Yadyapi Vyatiriktvaadi Siddham, means this Atma is other than the body mind sense complex, was already established by the Anumana which we talked about previously. Even though it was established, still what? Still there can be a doubt. What is the doubt? In fact, one of the arguments which we actually negated previously is that the Purupakshi came and said that only the help can be given only between things which are of the same category, belonging to the same category only can help each other. So samana jatiya anugrahakatva means what? One can give anugrahakam here means helping. Okay. So only between the samana jati, things belonging to the same jati or category can help each other. So like that, in fact, we do see that things belonging to the same category can help each other. We are not denying that, but it cannot be a rule that only things belonging to the same category can help. But people can have this Bhranti, Bhashyakara says, Samana Jatiya Anugrahakatva Darshana Nimitta Bhrantya, he says. So we do see that in the world also, things belonging to the same category can help each other. And by looking at that, one can have a delusion that only things which are in the same category can help each other, and therefore this Atma has to be one of these Indriyas alone. Okay. Karnanam eva anyatamaha means they have to be one amongst the sense organs or mind and all that, correct? Either it is the Antakarna or the different sense organs, or it can be otherwise also. That is the doubt. Va Vyatiriktahava, whether it is one amongst all these Karanas or it is something different. Vyatiriktahava iti avivekataha. Therefore, that you are not able to decide clearly. There is an aviveka is there with reference to that. There is no discriminatory knowledge that this Atma is actually other than this body mind sense complex, other than all these organs and instruments. So that discriminatory knowledge is not there, that not being there, and there is a doubt that this helping can only be done within the same category of things. Therefore, Janaka is still asking, he says, Avivekataha Prichati, what Katamaha iti, which is this Atma, like this he is asking. So further, Bhashyakara says, Nyaya Sukshmatayaha Durvijnayatvat upapadyate bhrantihi. So the nyaya sukshmataya means what? There is a nyaya is this logic is not very easy to understand. It is still subtle. Okay. Even whatever the anumana which Bhashyakara presented, it's not very easy to understand, very easy to ascertain. So Dirvijñayatvam is there for this nyaya. So even based on that, people can still be confused. Okay, the confusion is understandable. Upapadyate bharantihi. Okay, so this is one view. So there is still some doubt with Janaka, therefore he asked this question. Otherwise what? Athava Sharira Vyatirikte Siddhepi Karnani Sarvani Vijnanavanti Iva Vivekataha Atmanaha Anupalabdhatvat Ataha Aham Prichami Katamaha Atmeti. Otherwise, we can look at it like this also. Even though we say that Atma has been established as something other than this, all these karanas, okay, Antakarana, the mind and all the organs, that is Siddha, that we established, let us say. You have given the analogy, you have given the reasoning for that, whatever Anumana inference we did, I understand that. But still, all the organs also appear to be aware and conscious and all that, correct? Mind is also conscious. The consciousness is manifesting only in the mind. Therefore, he says, Karanani Sarvani Vijnanavanti Iva. So all the Karanas appear to be, even my body is conscious, correct? The consciousness itself is manifest only within the limits of my body. Everything other than my body, I see that they are something separate. My consciousness is only manifest within this body, mind, sense complex. And so all these things look to be conscious, look to be aware. And they are the ones which are, which are reacting to all the stimuli in the surroundings. So they are all Vijnanavanti Iva. They are the ones which look to be conscious, aware. Therefore, what? This Atma is not available separately. Vivekataha Atmanaha Anupalabdhatva. So it's not easy for me to appreciate this Atma as something separate from this body, mind, sense complex, as a conscious entity separate from the body, mind, sense complex. It's not easy for me to, or it is not possible for me to appreciate that fact. Therefore, I still ask, what is this Atma? Which is this Atma? Ataha aham prichami katamaha atmeti. Okay. And further he describes that, says katamaha asau dehendriya prana manassu. So which is this Atma among this all the indriyas and prana and mind, etc. and the deha also? Yaha tvaya uktaha Atma. So whatever Atma you talked about, okay, what is this Atma amongst all these things? Yena Jyotisha aste iti uktam, and by which light all these activities, the people sit, people go around, whatever, all the activities are taking place, you said, by the light of this Atma. Which is this Atma amongst all these things? It is not easy for me to cognize that, for me to understand that separately, because all these things also appear to be aware, conscious. The body, mind, sense complex itself appears to be conscious. Therefore, how can I separately know this Atma as only the consciousness other than this body, mind, sense complex? So this way we can take. Otherwise, another way also Bhashyakara. Athava yoyam Atma tvaya abhipretaha vijnanamayaha sarve ime pranaha vijnanamaya iva yeshu praneshu katamaha. So, otherwise, also another way is what to look at this question. This Atma, which you have talked about as Vijnanamaya, which is identified with this Vijnana, and that Atma, amongst these Prana, Manas, etc., correct? So, Sarve ime Pranaha Vijnanamaya only, it says. So, you said Atma is Vijnanamaya, But for me, all these praneshu means all the indriyas, etc., are also pranamaya only. Okay, pranamayaha iva. So it looks like they are all pranamayaha. Therefore, amongst them, which is this Atma? Like that, you can take the question. And for that, Bhashyakara is giving another analogy also to make it clear. Yatha samuditeshu brahmaneshu sarve ime tejasvinaha katamaha yeshu shadanga viditi. So, of course, everybody, or all these organs are Vijnana Maya. But amongst this, which is the special one which you are talking about as Atma, which is the Vijnana Maya, means it is like there are many Brahmanas who have assembled, correct? Samuditeshu, Brahmaneshu, Sarve ime Tejasvina, all of them are bright scholars. They are all Vaidikas, Veda Adhyayanam they have done. But amongst them, not everybody would have done Shadanga Adhyayanam, correct? Because Veda Adhyayanam traditionally, nowadays in fact, very few people do that. So traditional Veda Adhyayanam was only 6 months we memorize the Veda. Okay. The other 6 months you are supposed to know the Shad Angas, the other Angas. That's when those 6 months, how it is happening, that is where this Upakarma is there, correct? Nowadays, Upakarma means everybody thinks that you go and change your Upavitam. That's all you know. Punal Matarde, like that they say even in Tamil Nadu. You go and change your Upavitam means it is Upakarma. No. Upakarma is basically that it defines this separation. So 6 months you learn the Veda, you memorize the chanting. The other 6 months you learn these disciplines of knowledge which make up our Vaidika discipline as a entire knowledge corpus, correct? Which is that you have to learn the Veda along with 6 subdivisions or sub-disciplines, which are Siksha, Kalpam, Niruktam, Vyakaranam, Chandas, Jyotisham. Like this it is said, correct? So Siksha means it is it is talking about how to pronounce all these things, correct? That is the Siksha. About the sounds themselves, how to make the sound, or even the Sandhi rules, and so many things are there in the Vedic chanting. So it is about that, the Siksha Shastram. Then Kalpam is the how to use the Veda mantra in different rituals and all, that is called Kalpa. There are Kalpa Sutras are also there separately. And in fact, every Veda, every Vaidika is identified with a particular sutra. Based on that only we do even our everyday things. For a Samavedi, even the Sandhya Vandanam is slightly different. Brahma Yajnam is different. So many things. What we do is different from a Yajurvedi who follows Apastamba Sutra. Samavedis may follow Drahyayana Sutra. Like that, sutras are there. Different sutras are there for different Vedas. And even within the Veda, each Shakha can have different sutra also. There are Bodhayana Sutra also is there in Yajurveda. Bodhayana, many things are different. How they do even Shraddha or how you do Tarpanam. It's all different. Okay, it depends on the sutra. So Kalpa, Shiksha, Kalpam, Vyakaranam. Without Vyakaranam, you cannot understand. Without grammar, you cannot understand anything, correct? Grammar is very important. Then Niruktam is again the etymology. Correct? Niruktam is the first dictionary or thesaurus, you can say, in the world. So it gives you the meaning of all the Vedic words, etc. So Niruktam also one has to study. Then Chandas is prosody, correct? All the Chandas, because each Veda mantra has a certain Chandas. Gayatri, Ushnik, Anushtup, Trishtup, like that. But during Sandhya Vandana also we talk about all these Chandas. Gayatri, Ushnik, Anushtup, Trishtup, Jagati, all this we say, correct? So the prosody, you can say, Chandas is also a Shastra. And then Jyotisha. Jyotisham also is very important to know how to find out the auspicious time or when to do certain things. There are Naimitika karma are there. So when does grahana happen, correct? Because during the grahana kala alone, you have to do certain things. So how do our people knew? They had a certain calculation based on which in the Panchanga they will tell you exactly when the Grahanam will happen, and during that time, in fact, the timing sometimes will be very short. Within 30 minutes, you have to take a bath and do the Tarpanam and all that. Okay. So they'll give you the timing based on the place, etc. So all these things, these allied disciplines also one has to learn along with the Veda Adhyayana. Nowadays, many people, even those who do Adhyayanam of the Samhita, they only memorize the Veda. They don't have any knowledge about all the other things. Few people have. Okay, because others just go for, once they learn, some people don't even learn the complete Samhita. They just learn only the Upayukta mantras, those mantras which are frequently used in regular rituals, correct? And then they start going for Vaidika Karma and all that. But anyway, so the one who has learnt all the Shadanga is still somebody who is special amongst all the Brahmanas. So this question is something like that. All the Indriyas and Manas also appear to be Vijnanamaya, but amongst this, which is the one which is the special Atma, whose light is the one which is making everything active? Like this one is asking. Okay. So this way, if you take, then how you interpret this first line itself will vary. That's what now Bhashyakara is going to say. He says, Purvasmin Vyakhyane Katamaha Atma Ityetavadeva Prashnavakyam. So the first couple of things we talked about, correct? There, the question ends here itself. Katamaha Atma iti means the question is only this much. Janaka asked, which is the self again. Then from here, Yoyam Vijnanamayaha Praneshu Hridyantar Jyotihi Purushaha, etc. This is the answer for that, this entire thing. But in the second option, where we are saying, which is the Atma amongst all this prana, etc., means the question has to go up to this point, correct? Because whatever is said as Atma, which is Vijnanamaya by you, this Vijnanamaya Atma amongst all these Indriyas, which is the one, is the Atma, the Vijnanamaya Atma. Like this, the question is there, means the question will continue up to this point. Okay. So that's what Bhashyakara is pointing. In Purvasmin Vyakhyane Katamaha Atma iti etavadeva Prashnavakyam. Yoyam Vijnanamaya iti Prativachanam. So the Prativachana, the answer starts from here itself. Yoyam Vijnanamaya. Dvitiyetu, in the other option, here when we talk about, correct? This part, for this what? Dvitiyetu Vyakhyane Praneshu ityevam Antam Prashnavakyam. So up to this Praneshu, you have to take it as the question, because the question itself is like this. Amongst all the Indriyas, whatever you said, which is the one which you said as Atma, which is Vijnanamaya, correct? That is the question. Then in fact, he gives one more also. Atava Sarvameva Prashnavakyam Vijnanamaya Ridyantar Jyotihi Purushaha. Up to this also you can take, he says, the question. So the Vijnanamaya Atma amongst the Indriyas, and which is available within the intellect, and which is the Purusha. What is that? Vijnanamaya Atma Purusha. Like this also it can be, the question can be there. Ityetedantam. Up to Purusha also you can take the question, and then this is the answer. But then Bhashyakara doesn't favor the second option, so he clarifies here. He will give that. What is that? He says, Yoyam Vijnanamayaha ityetasya shabdasya Nirdharita Artha Vishesha Vishayatvam Katamaha Atma iti Shabdasya Prashnavakya Parisamapti Arthatvam Vyavahita Sambandham Antarena Yuktam iti Kritva Katamaha Atma ityevam Antameva Prashnavakyam. Okay. So Bhashyakara says, since this Yoyam Vijnanamayaha Praneshu Hridyantar Jyoti and all actually fits the answer part better than considering them as a question, because it is revealing to us the meaning, or the whatever the speciality or the guna of the Atma, correct? The Atma Swarupa it is revealing to us. Whatever is ascertained by the Shruti, Nirdharita Artha Vishesha Vishayatvam is there. for this he is saying, for all these things, because these words reveal to us the nature of this self to us, or what is this self. Therefore, considering them as part of the question is not proper. And another main reason he gives is the iti then has to actually move here or here, correct? Iti in the Vakya here is happening after Atma only. But if you want to include all these things also in the question, then the iti has to be moved. That he says again is not, it should not be done generally like that, correct? Unless you are not able to actually consider this, whatever is there before the iti itself as a question, in which case you can do. In extraordinary situation, you can move around and try to get some meaning. But here it is not really, this Vyavahita means putting it at a distance, correct? After. So that we need not do here. This Vyavahita Sambandha we don't have to do. Connecting it at a distance or after a certain gap, we don't have to do that. So we'll take this Katama Atmeti itself as the question. Okay. And therefore, the answer will start from Yoyam Vijnanamaya. Yoyam Ityadi Param Sarvameva Prativachanam iti Nischiyate. So if we take this as the question, everything after this is the answer we have to take. So first we have decided what is the question, what is the answer. Okay, now let us go further. Yoyam iti atmanaha pratyakshatvat nirdeshaha. So by saying yoyam, okay, that which is this, what the Shruti is trying to show is this Atma is shown as something which is directly known to us, that which can be directly known. Pratyakshatvat nirdeshaha means that, in fact, yes, sakshat aparokshad, like that also it was said in the previous chapter, correct? Means something which is known directly to you without the interference of any other indriya or anything else also, in fact, because it is yourself. But the Atma here, basically by saying yoyam, that which is this means this is always available directly to us, correct? Whatever is cognized as this is immediately, it is within the sphere of your experience. That alone we can say this. That means certain remoteness is there, but this is something which is available immediately. So that's why Bhashyakara points it out, saying Atmanaha Pratyakshatvat Nirdeshaha, the Yoyam iti. Yoyam, by saying Yoyam, it is this Atma is shown as something which is available directly, immediately for us. And Vijnana Mayaha means what? Vijnana Prayaha. So now Bhashyakara takes up this Vijnana Maya and tries to explain the actual meaning of this Vijnana Mayat Pratyaya. And he gives the meaning as Vijnana Prayaha. Prayaha means generally almost, it is that. Okay. Or which is something which is identified with. You can take it as Vijnana Prayaha. Means, so he explains why it is almost means Buddhi Vijnana Upadi Samparka Avivekad Vijnana Mayaha iti uchyate. He says, see, the intellect is there and then consciousness is there. But people are not able to differentiate between consciousness separately from the intellect, because we always understand awareness or consciousness in the context of cognizing something. The activity of cognition, based on that only, we are understanding awareness or consciousness. But consciousness is by itself, it is always there as it is, and it is manifest through the intellect. Then only the cognitive action takes place. Okay, cognition takes place. But since we understand it only always through the activity of cognition, that connection between this consciousness and the buddhi, the intellect, is not very easy. So if you always know fire only through the iron, red hot iron, you think that the iron itself is red hot, correct? Unless you are able to separate the fire from the iron and see them and understand that fire is separate, iron is separate, unless you are able to separate it out, that Viveka Jnana is there, means it is fine, but it is not there. So he says aviveka, samparka aviveka means what? People are not able to understand that buddhi is separate, consciousness is separate, which is manifesting in the buddhi. Like even the Agni manifests in a iron rod, let us say red hot iron rod. This is not very clear. Aviveka is there. Aviveka, Vijnana Maya. That is why it is called Vijnana Maya. It is almost Vijnana, but it is not Vijnana because Atma is confused with the intellect, which is the Upadhi really. Correct? Vijnana Upadhi, Buddhi, Vijnana Upadhi, Samparka, Aviveka. So the Buddhi is not understood as the Upadhi or the conditioning factor of consciousness. So that understanding is not there. Therefore, this Atma is called Vijnanamaya. So Buddhi Vijnana Samprikta Eva Ihi Yasmat Upalabhyate. That is because always this consciousness is known only connected with the intellect, correct? Buddhi Vijnana Sampriktaha. So it is always known as something which is connected or related to this consciousness is known through the Buddhi only. Therefore, it is always available like that. Because it is like that, therefore this aviveka is there. And he gives an analogy. Rahu iva chandradi iti chandradi Chandraditya Sampriktaha. Sorry, Chandra Aditya Sampriktaha. Rahu iva Chandraditya Sampriktaha. So, this when Rahu is we say that Rahu is only head, correct? And Rahu swallows sun or moon during the eclipse and all that. So there, the Rahu is separately you cannot know. It is Chaya Graham and all we say. So Rahu is always known only with reference to the moon or the sun. Separately, you cannot know that. Like that, this Buddhi and Vijnana are always known together. Therefore, there is no clarity there that they are two separate things. So further he says, Buddhihi hi sarvartha karanam. Okay. Tamasiva pradipaha purovasthitaha. So here one question may ask, why are we talking about Buddhi here as Vijnana Mayaha? Why can't all other Indriyas also can be talked about, correct? Means Buddhi is the main thing through which all cognition happens. Because whichever organ through which some sense object is objectified, unless the Buddhi Buddhi is active or backs up the sense organ, the cognition is not going to take place. So Buddhirhi Sarvartha Karanam, Buddhi alone is the instrument for knowing everything. Tamasi eva pradipaha puravasthitaha, like even you have in front of you, you have a light, correct? And you dispel the darkness by setting a light in front. Similarly, this Buddhi alone shines and dispels the ignorance with reference to a particular object and then makes that object available for cognition. So like this, Buddhi is the main thing through which we cognize. And therefore further what? And then he gives some quotation. Manasa hyeva pashyati, manasa shrinoti, which we saw already in the first chapter, 5th Brahmana itself. By the mind alone, one sees, by the mind alone, one hears, like that. So whichever may be the instrument, sense organ, through that, only through the mind alone, again we know everything. It was already said. So Buddhi Vijnana Aloka Vishishtameva hi Sarvam Vishaya Jatam Upalabhyate. So everything, all the Vishayas, all the objects, okay, which we know, okay, which we cognize, They are all known only because of the light of the intellect. Buddhi Vijnana. So the light of consciousness in the Buddhi alone lights up. That its aloka only is lighting up everything. In its light only, because it lights up only, everything else is cognized. Purovastita Pradeepa Aloka Vishishtamiva Tamasi. Okay. Dwara Matrani tu Anyani Karanani Buddhehe. So, like even the lamp which is there in front of one, which helps us to dispel the darkness and know whatever is there, correct? There can be a dark room, so many objects are there, but in darkness nothing is visible. Then only the light of the lamp alone is bringing all the objects into the range of our cognition. Similarly, internally also the Buddhi's light is important. With that alone, all the objects become known to us. All the karanas are only dwara. They are all only the gates, correct? Through the karana, in fact, our understanding of how knowledge takes place is what? The mind goes through the karana and takes the form of the object. That is the vritti we talk about, the manovritti. And once the manovritti takes place, the ignorance with reference to that object is destroyed. And then whatever consciousness which manifests in that manovritti only produces that knowledge. So that is how we understand. So these karanas are all only dwara. They are all only some gates or doors, and through which this mind operates. Therefore, what tasmat tenaiva visheshyate vijnanamayati. So therefore, the buddhi alone is talked about as vijnanamayaha. Okay, not the other karanas, because buddhi has a primary role in cognition. Further, yesham paramatma vignapti vikaraha iti vyakyanam tesham vijnanamayaha, okay, manomayaha ityadau vijnanamaya shabdasya anyartha darshanat ashrautarthata avasiyate. So the Bhartu Prapancha is actually taking these things as this vikara. So the mayat pratyaya can have vikarartha, prachuryartha, like that different meanings are possible. Prachuryam means saturation. Okay, so vijnana maya means Bhartu Prapancha is taking, it is the buddhi etc. are all modification of the self which is vijnana, like this. So Paramatma Vignapti Vikara. In fact, the Jiva itself is looked upon as a modification of the Paramatma. So this is the one type of Vishishtadvaita only. Okay. So that Vyakyana is there. So Yesham means those who have give such a Vyakyanam, okay, for whom this Vyakyana is there. Tesham what? Is Vijnanamaya, Manonamaya ityado, Vijnanamaya Shabdasya, Anyartha Darshana. But Shruti itself is talking about this Mayat in many places, in different ways. There they are not able to give the same meaning properly. Okay. So the different meanings are seen. The Mayat Shabda itself does not come, if they give that Vikara as the meaning, it will not fit in other places where Shruti is using this Maya. Vijnana Maya alone is not there. In fact, if we go to 445, we will see that so many other Mayat is also used. Therefore, the Anyartha Darshanat, Ashrautarthata Avasiyate means whatever meaning they give is not really the meaning of the Shruti. Okay, therefore, these people are giving a certain type of interpretation. Okay, when they say it is the modification or whatever, something which is the consciousness alone changes into this and becomes the Vijnanamaya, means they are all going against the meaning of the Shrutis. So it doesn't really, the Mayat does not indicate modification. In fact, Bhashyakara will show why it does not indicate modification. So he says Anyartha Darshanam. So in all this usage of Mayat, you cannot really give the meaning of modification and make it meaningful still. It will be, if you say it is a modification, then it will not, it is not tenable. It will be contradictory, all that. So it is ashrautarthata avasiyate, means what? They are going against the, whatever the Shruti wants to reveal or Shruti is telling you. And in fact, there is already a doubt now, what is the meaning of this mayat pratyaya? Whether it is a modification or saturation or it is likeness or whatever, correct? We are giving a meaning of it is almost like, it is prayaha is the meaning given. So the sandigdhascha padarthaha anyatra nishtita prayoga darshanat nirdharayitum shakyaha. Bhashyakara first he says. See, if there is a sandega, there is a doubt now, what is the meaning of mayat? Means then how do we arrive at it? Means he says, by looking at other places where it has been definitely, it has been used with a definite meaning, correct? Nishchita prayoga darshanam means what? Somewhere you see that, means you are very clear in this context, it can mean only this. So if you have a certainty there, then based on that you can take that meaning here also. So somewhere else, if it has been used in a definitive manner, in a particular meaning, based on that you can also ascertain here also it is the same meaning. That is one way. Or he says Vakya Shesha, means, see, there are principles in Mimamsa, correct, based on which we can interpret. So if a certain sentence is there, it is always part of a prakarana, correct? So it is in a particular section, means then within that section we have to see which meaning will fit here. Because a certain word, what meaning we have to take, how we have to interpret it, entirely depends on in which section it is. In Mimamsa, we use that principle a lot. Okay. So based on that, we have to do that. Vakya Shesha. So it is the Shesha of which Vakya, means which there is a Eka Vakyata, we say, particularly certain sections. If a particular section is talking about a particular ritual, then everything you have to interpret with reference to that. So that is the idea here. So Vakya Shesha, also one can do this. Okay. Or otherwise what? Nishchita Nyaya Baladva are based on inference of, because you have to use proper inference, and based on the strength of your inference, also you can say that, of course, this inference is within the Shruti only. Within the Shruti Sammata Tarka, we can say, based on inference also, we can arrive at the meaning. Okay. Sadhiriti cha uttaratra pathat. So here later on, uttaratra pathat means what? Later on, there is an expression. Okay, sadhihi. So sadhihi. Okay, dhi is buddhi only. So this atma along with buddhi, associated with the buddhi, like that, there is going to be a usage later on. So based on that also, what do we understand? If you say something along with another thing, then they both are separate, correct? They cannot be the same thing. So the later on it is coming sadhihi, like that. So the Vijnanamaya itself, therefore, is not cannot be modification like this. We will see that. Okay. So there is a later on also it is going to come. Also hridyantaha iti vachanat yuktam vijnana prayatvam veva. So hridyantar jyotihi is there. So the jyotis which is there inside the intellect. So it is separate from intellect, and it is something different from the intellect, is established by that hridyantaha. But it is like, it is within the intellect, therefore it is like, it is identified with the intellect, correct? That is the Vijnana Prayatvam, he says. The intellect itself is not a modification of the self, but self is available within the intellect. Therefore, it is identified with the intellect, or it is like almost like the intellect. So that will be the right meaning. We may not take it as a modification really. And okay, the rest of the things we'll see. Praneshu iti Vyatireka Pradarshanartha Saptami. Also the Saptami is there. Praneshu, amongst the prana, like that, amongst the sense organs, like this, by saying that it is shown clearly that this Atma is other than all the organs, etc. And so Bhashyakara will explain that further. We'll see all that next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಮಹೋದಯ. ಶುಭ ದಿನಂ, ಶುಭರಾತ್ರಿ.